Wow, I really hope that flag wasn't made of polyester, because they would have been fucked.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to our show.
Hello.
As you know, we're watching Buffy from the beginning. He's never seen it before. I'm a huge super fan, so we're doing this rewatch together just to kind of, have some fun, see how it goes. And we are on episode 3 of season 1, and it's called The Witch. And since he hasn't seen it before, do you have any thoughts?
So we left off at the end of episode 2. That was kind of like part 2 of the intro or whatever. Mm-hmm. And this one is kind of like, I think I mentioned it in the last episode, it's kind of like a Monster of the Week, like X-Files style Monster of the Week, which is perfect. And I was really, really happy about that because we've had 2 episodes now introducing you to the core cast of characters, at least to start, and getting a lot of lore and setup and how characters work and how the world is kind of set up and everything. And then this one, it just leaves them to kind of play in the sandbox that's been set up, and it's not a vampire that's the main threat, as evidenced by the title, which is great. Because it immediately opens up that world to new fantastical characters and elements and all that. And I think that's really cool. It introduces magic and everything. Yeah. So it's not just monsters. There's literal magic that we see. And I was really, really happy about that. I did note, and I don't know if this is necessarily for a very specific reason or not, but I'm pretty sure Angel isn't in this episode.
He is not.
Yeah. So maybe that's because he's like vampire-specific dude or what, I don't know. But I noticed that he was not in this one at all. So
he's not
interesting.
in this one.
But yeah, really like this one.
Yeah, I was going to say that I always thought they did a good job with the first 2 episodes of setting everybody up and kind of how they work and what their roles are and everything, so that in the 3rd episode, we are unleashed, if you will.
Yeah.
To enjoy
the
story and everything, yeah.
So it starts out with, we find out Buffy is about to try out for the cheerleading squad.
Yes.
Which, of course, that's going to happen. That makes perfect sense. And I can't remember exactly what she says. She's talking to her mom, right?
Well, she's talking to Giles first. And
Giles,
he's like
that's right.
upset that she's going to do this because of her sacred duty. How could she do this?
Yeah, she's going to join some like cultish group of people who's going to rot her mind or whatever. And then it's revealed that it cuts over to her, and she's wearing a cheerleader uniform. You're like, oh, great.
Yeah.
Hilarious. I thought that was pretty good.
My favorite thing when he's like, I forbid you to do it. And she goes, and you're going to stop me how?
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite lines of the show ever. I always smile and giggle at that. I don't know why.
Well, I mean, I think it's
good delivery.
Well, it's that line really, really works well for her character because she's never, at least so far, I know, what is it, like 180 something episodes and I'm 3 in, talking like I know her. So far, she doesn't seem like the type of character who's very pushy or like tells other people what to do or how to live their life or anything like that. She just does what she thinks or knows is right, and she's not going to let somebody talk her out of it very easily. So if this is something that she wants to do and it's not going to hurt anybody, like she said, what are you going to do to stop me?
Yeah.
You know I'm stronger than you. I don't care that you don't like cheerleaders. Like, deal with it, old man. And she says that she told Giles about it and he, quote unquote, lost his water. What the hell is that all about?
I don't know what that means. Maybe it's like the California speak that they tried to work into the show or whatever.
It stands to reason that whoever wrote the episode probably didn't use all of the phrases that they were trying to write into the show, so they may not be batting 1,000.
Yeah.
Oh, and then so we get into Xander finds out and all of that, and I guess they are all going to the cheerleading tryouts and everything, and he's making his unnecessary string of creepy ass comments.
I mean, he's a teenage boy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm pretty sure that just happens.
Oh, well, it absolutely does.
Well, with that statement, I'm going to skip ahead and then we can come back to Cordelia in this episode when she, like we've seen her be mean, to Willow, and yeah, that was mean and it was awful, but she was mean and scary towards Amy in the locker room.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that was...
I thought you were talking about the scene where they get bumped back down to being alternates, but you're talking about in the locker.
Yeah,
that
in
one
the locker room, and as she walks away and she slams that door, that is scary.
That's just as problematic as, again, guessing, because I don't know a lot of what I'm sure people will take issue with Xander for.
Yeah.
Like, that kind of stuff is not... That's some super toxic shit.
So, I mean, and this is why I like this show, because, and I like a lot of writings and shows and books and stuff like that, where because in real life nobody's perfect, right?
Perfect is boring. I mean, why would you want to watch somebody who never does anything wrong?
Right, like, everybody nowadays wants characters and people and their heroes to have zero flaws, and that's just not the way the world works. Everyone has flaws. Everyone has a past. Everyone acted like an idiot before, and I feel like everyone just needs to take a step back and remember that there was a time when they probably said some things, did some things, what have you, that they would take issue with today, and just, be a little humble about things. Is humble the right word? Is that the right word?
Yeah, I think so.
I think that's the word I was looking for. But yeah, so if you're a Xander hater, I'm sorry, I'm not. Like, his character can be problematic, but I don't hate any main character in this show at all. So.
Well, and we have to remember, hate is a strong word.
But
it's a strong emotion.
Well.
And it's usually misused and misplaced. Like, I feel like a lot of people who probably say they hate him are coming from a place of very justified feelings, but they're potentially misplaced on him.
Yeah,
because there very much are troublesome, problematic men.
Yes, and I'm not saying that their feelings aren't valid.
Yeah, exactly.
But there needs to be... I mean, people... I don't know.
Maybe a little bit more objectivity. Like,
yeah.
One, he's a fake character. Two, it's very much of a certain time, and things were different, like it or not.
Not saying it's right, but...
Nobody likes hearing, oh, well, Grandma was from a different time. That doesn't make it okay.
Yeah.
But it does explain it a little bit. But I think a lot of people... I don't know. We will continue to discuss this topic as we go along.
This is going to be... Right, because I remember telling you, we're going to talk about this because...
It comes up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on Facebook and I'm a member of a group that is Buffy centric and everything, and there's so many posts just hating on Xander, and there's a few of us, and we're always like, yeah, he's problematic, yeah, I see that point, but we don't hate him. And yeah, I think I made a post one time. I was like, it's tiring coming on here and just seeing nothing but hate and awful posts about a character that,
Well, especially if they only have one thing to say.
Yeah.
Like, if that's your only point, we get it. We've heard you.
I mean, people make a lot of points, but it's directed at this one main point. Yeah. Like, they cite things to support their thoughts or whatever, and that's fine, and we'll get into that as we go on for sure. I just wanted to because we're starting to see some of this behavior from him early on.
Moving on, so we get to cheerleader tryouts and everything, and I think it's Amber is the like hotshot who has her own like private coach and everything, and she's doing her deal and her little tryout and all that, and she's, you know, going crazy and doing everything, and then her hands literally catch on fire.
Yeah.
And Buffy runs and grabs, I think she grabs one of their like flags, like spirit flags or something like that, and wraps her up and everything, and puts her out while everybody's just staring dumbfounded, which, yeah, okay, a person just spontaneously combusted, I can understand how that would be confusing and shocking. But this is how my brain works. The first thing I thought when I saw that scene was, wow, I really hope that flag wasn't made of polyester, because they would have been fucked.
He said that out loud.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
it's okay. I mean,
don't have a lot of a filter sometimes.
I know, and that's fine.
That's our first introduction to, hey, some like weird shit's going on. We don't know what the hell's happening here. Goes to commercial break, and the title after that. But we get to start to know Amy a little bit better, and she is very obsessed with being a cheerleader and being perfect and making, you know, like being the it girl of the cheerleaders and all of that, and is maybe a little obsessive and potentially a little neurotic about it. Then we get to what starts leading into what you were talking about with Cordelia. Cordelia is very aggressive.
Yes.
Which, no surprise there. And starts making, I hesitate to use the phrase thinly veiled threats, but because they're not very thinly veiled.
Yeah.
They're pretty much just straight up threats.
Yeah. Just really quick, I don't remember exactly when this happened, but when he was talking about, or when they went to Giles after the tryouts and talked about how Amber's hands caught on fire and stuff, I don't remember if they were thinking witch right then or whatever.
No, they weren't.
Okay, but...
because that hasn't happened quite yet.
But he got excited, remember? Because he was talking about like, ooh, living on a hellmouth, blah, 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 and all this other stuff. I was like, okay, hide your excitement because this is some bad stuff.
Well, I mean, you remember his introduction is, hey, is this what you're looking for?
That's true.
Just touching on Xander again. Yeah. He refers to Willow as... so he's talking about how much he's like into the cheerleaders or whatever.
Or he's into Buffy.
Yes.
That's
sorry.
what it is.
And Willow says something that he didn't think about, like kind of explaining Buffy and what she's all about and everything. And he says, this is why I like you. You're like one of the guys who like gets girls and can tell me this stuff. And I don't remember seeing anything like specifically like her reaction being very hurt or anything like that, but I'm sure she was, because nobody wants...
her face kind of changed, and
yeah,
you know, because she likes Xander.
Yeah, well, and that's what I was getting at is, and there's a nice like flip to that situation later in the episode, and it's fantastic.
I wrote that down.
It does a good job of explaining like how just completely unaware of himself and his surroundings, and especially other people's feelings he is.
Like a teenage boy.
Yeah. The world, I don't necessarily think that he thinks the world revolves around him, but he doesn't understand how what he does actually has ramifications. Yeah. He just thinks he's somebody in this giant world and all that, and what he does is so tiny and minuscule that it doesn't matter. But you can see how what he says hurts her feelings, and it's one of those things that I'm sure everybody's done or said or whatever, and it was very believable and interesting, because it comes back, you know, this in the opposite direction, and it's
from
just
Buffy,
fantastic.
from the person that he likes.
Yeah, it was. Oh God, it's great.
You're exactly like one of the girls.
Mm-hmm. So I didn't, like just watching that, I didn't really quite think that he would really get it.
No.
He would just feel hurt.
He would feel hurt. He
wouldn't
not
understand that, oh shit, I just did the same thing to Willow. But again, completely oblivious. Yeah. So it's nice that they have that like back and forth kind of stuff set up. Like they have they do a really good job of giving that group a really good, interesting, believable dynamic, because that's definitely something that we probably all did or been through or knew somebody who went through that kind of crap. Like, it's very realistic and believable, and it does a good job of making these characters relatable. Because we all had dumb crushes and, you know, all that, and then we grew up and understood what the hell was wrong with me kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was nice seeing that, because any character who starts out perfect or anything approaching that is just boring.
Yeah, there's nowhere for them to go. They can't grow.
And I don't know if anything happens there or not, but like you said, Willow clearly is kind of into Xander, and he's just completely oblivious because he's into Buffy, which, cool, get it. But I feel like Xander and Willow would be pretty close to perfect for each other, just because they're both, like, weird and goofy in their own particular way, and they don't necessarily seem like they would mesh perfectly on first glance, but they have a very good, like, what's the word? Repertoire? No, I don't know.
Rapport?
Rapport, yeah. They get along very quickly and easily. They understand each other.
I mean, they've been friends
relationally
since they were little.
Yeah, okay, so, yeah. But isn't that kind of one of those tropes, you know?
Yeah.
Friends who have been together for so long, and then they realize, oh, hey, maybe we would be better if we were actually together.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just had that thought, and it was just kind of funny thinking, oh, well, he's super dumb. This is probably something that he would be happy, but he doesn't know that he would be happy with. Regardless, whatever. Yeah.
Anywho, my note is Buffy's still resistant to them helping her.
Helping Amy?
No, helping Buffy. She's still resistant to the idea of Xander and Willow getting involved.
Oh, like, yeah, I gotcha. Don't go along hunting these vampires with me. Don't go along trying to help me with this
yeah,
situation.
and that kind of is an ongoing thing.
That makes a lot of sense, because she is a very strong character.
Yes.
And doesn't want to feel like she needs to rely on other people.
Well, I also think...
Which that isn't what's happening.
I also think she doesn't want to put other people in danger.
Well, there's also that too.
That's what I think it's more of. Not that she feels like she has to rely on other people, but that she doesn't want to be responsible for other people.
Okay, yeah. I mean, yeah, I get that.
That's what I think, and it may be because I've seen it all the way through and a billion times.
Oh, no, I definitely get that, too.
Yeah.
That's just not the first thing that I thought. But yes, that makes perfect sense. And I made a note in here talking about how I like how empathetic of a character she is. It's nice that there's a character, like the main hero character, who's not just big and bold and like, I'm going to run out and be all badass all the time. She actually sits and listens to other people and understands like how this stuff is affecting Amy and how, you know, like how crazy it all is, and she doesn't sit there and try to explain anything away. She just sits and says, you're going to be okay, and that's it. Yeah. And it's nice there being a hero who is that kind of more pure empathy or empathetic kind of a person, because like the counterpoint to that I'd thought of in my head was in Civil War, again, Marvel stuff, I know.
In the movie or the comics?
The movie.
Oh, okay. I'll know it then.
When Tony talks to the woman who her son was on a diplomatic mission in Lagos and all of that, and he got killed in their actions and everything. He comes back to the group all like torn up and everything, but how he presents that whole concept and everything to the group is, yes, he's obviously concerned about what he and the rest of the group's actions do to other people and how they affect them, but it's all like he frames it in such a way that it's very aggressive and all about him, not about other people. Yeah. Even though that is the subject of what he's talking about, it always comes back to being about him, not being empathetic. It's always about, we're doing this, we're causing this is how people see us, blah, blah, blah. Not about, other people are suffering, we should be better, kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's
I see
more,
what you're saying.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It comes from a place of he cares about the same kind of things, but how he deals with it is so much more aggressive and like, I'm gonna fix this and I'm gonna be out there and and blah blah blah. It's more about a fight than it is about people's feelings and humanity. And it was just nice. It was a nice little moment where the hero, who's this big badass who can go out and fight all these crazy monsters and shit, has a quiet moment and is just like, hey, I hear you and I'm going to help. And that was it. It didn't have to be some big show of, anything more than that. It was just, I don't know. I just thought it was nice.
I love Buffy. Like, I just do. Spoiler, she's my favorite character.
Ever.
Well, I don't.
Ever. No,
I don't know about ever, but she's up there and she's flawed too. We'll find out. She's flawed too.
Sure. I feel like this is the first time we got to see her mom that was
when
more in the realm of believability.
Yeah.
Like, not that she wasn't believable before, it just seems like she was allowed to be more her own character in this episode, and we're actually starting to get to know her and who she is and what she's all about, and less of a, hey, this is Buffy's mom. She's kind of exasperated because her daughter's been kicked out of another school, and she's separated from her husband, and, now she's actually able to kind of be her own character for the first time, and she's opening up, like, I guess she's an anthropologist or something.
She is like a museum curator or something.
Okay, yeah, she's opening up and she's a fertility statue, don't look, which is funny because it's probably just a small little statue with a giant dong.
Well, and then Buffy looks and she says, "Jeepers," which I love. But I was gonna say, like, in that exchange, she automatically just goes when she finds out Buffy's trying out for cheerleading, she goes, "Oh, good, like, no trouble or whatever." And she, like, Joyce is just waiting for the shit to hit the fan, so to speak. She's waiting for Buffy to get in trouble, I feel, from, like, what her statements were when they talked. And you can see on Buffy's face that she kind of took that as the same way. And then she was like, "Oh, no, I just meant, like, you were cheerleading before all the trouble started," so she was glad she was getting back into it.
Well, she doesn't even hear what she was getting into. She says, "Oh, I'm so glad that you're, getting into hobbies or whatever." And she says, "What was it that I was trying out for?" She goes, "Oh,
I don't remember.
I don't remember. I'm so sorry." She goes, "It's okay. I understand." Or something like that. Like, she doesn't even hear her. She's listening and she's excited that she's getting into hobbies and stuff, but she doesn't actually hear that she was trying out for cheerleading.
Well, but she says, "You were cheerleading before all the trouble started."
No, she said, "All of your hobbies are what got you into trouble." We'll have to check the tape.
Because
but yeah,
I'm
I remember that specifically.
Well, maybe she meant hobbies like other stuff, but she did say you were cheerleading before all the trouble started.
Yes, and I think that happens after she says, "Hey, what was I trying out for?" And she says, I didn't hear, I'm sorry." And then she says, "Cheerleading." And then she says, "Oh, well, you were cheerleading before everything started. Just be careful," or, "I'm worried about you," or whatever she says specifically after that. But
I don't remember her questioning her. I don't know. We'll go back and watch. If I'm wrong, I will be shamed and I will admit it. But also, Buffy's trying to connect with her mom here too.
Yeah.
She's talking about Amy and how she trains with her mom and she's really into it. And I feel like she's trying to, get Joyce to show some more interest in what she's doing rather than worry about her getting into trouble. And Joyce is kind of flippant about it and is just like, "Oh, sounds like her mom has too much time on her hands or doesn't have enough to do," or something like that. And
which is very dismissive in a way.
It is very dismissive.
I don't think she means it to be that way, but then it's another case of not being aware of what your words mean to somebody
Like, it's
else.
not only dismissive to what Buffy's saying, but it's dismissive to someone who is interested in what their daughter's doing and is putting in time with them and spending time with their daughter and with their child. And, I can...
Yeah. I think that concept is difficult for her because she doesn't even know where to start because her daughter has been involved in more troublesome or things that have
Yeah.
gotten her into trouble. So she doesn't even know where to start with celebrating what her daughter is doing or whatever hobby-wise,
Yeah.
and encouraging that because she thinks it might lead to something bad again.
But here's her chance.
Yeah.
You know, Buffy
absolutely.
offers her that chance and says, hey,
Yeah. And she doesn't
I'm doing
recognize
this, and, well, you know, Amy's mom helps her. She seems pretty into it. Like, I feel like that was an invitation for Joyce to, like, come in and be involved in Buffy's life, and she is just so flippant about it, and it's just like, oh, she has, you know,
Well,
I don't have enough time. Basically, when she said, sounds like she has too much time, basically says, I don't have enough time for that.
So thinking about it, I think maybe what she had thought in that moment was Buffy was trying to like play nice and get her on her side and be like, hey, I'm doing these things, be my friend, you know, I'm being good and all that. Not necessarily that that's what Buffy was doing, but that might have been kind of what her mom was thinking, was like, hey, I'm being normal, I'm cool, I'm not a problem, you should be happy with me. But not addressing the problem? I don't know.
I don't feel like Joyce thought about it in that way. I feel like she just didn't think about it. You know?
Yeah.
I feel like she was just like...
I'm just trying to give her maybe a little bit more, like, depth of thought.
I mean,
but I do agree with you.
I love Joyce. You know, in the beginning, you know, it's just like, okay. But, you know, later on, like, you do come to love her. Okay, so enough about Buffy's mom.
Yes. Okay, so, driver's ed scene. Where we see the scene in their attic, or Amy's attic, with the person who grabs the doll and she wraps the muslin or whatever around the doll, who is Cordelia, she's referenced by name, and says, like, I can't remember what incantation she says, but tosses her in her little deal and completes her spell.
Yeah.
So then we see the driver's ed deal where she's just completely out of it and just...
That driver's ed teacher should be fired because, one, she said she didn't want to drive and he was going to make her, and then she was not doing what he was telling her to do, and he still let her drive. And then when I was in driver's ed, the cars had pedals.
Yes, that was a note I made.
The passenger side had pedals,
in the passenger side,
so that the instructor could, like,
not die when the other person
control
doesn't know how to drive.
Yeah, and that's what I thought about is when I was in driver's ed.
Yeah. Well, my note was, the driver's ed department should really invest in one of those driver's ed cars where there's a brake in the passenger's side.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, okay. That all happens. She wanders into the road and almost gets hit by a bus, and Buffy jumps and saves her and sees her eyes have no irises or pupils or anything, and she's been blinded or whatever. And that's when they go back and talk again and like, look, this is a witch. Pretty sure it's Amy.
Because they figured out
what the fuck is happening.
It was all it was targeting cheerleaders, and then I made a note that Giles clearly doesn't understand teenage girls because he was like, why would someone resort to witchcraft to be on the cheerleading team? Well, I mean, they said like parental pressure or whatever, but I mean, I've seen being a girl that went through high school, like, girls are mean. Girls would do whatever it takes to get whatever they want.
We've all seen Mean Girls. Girls can be cutthroat.
So, yes. I mean, he's an older gentleman. Obviously, he doesn't understand teenage girls, but...
Well, also, let's not pretend like guys are better. If somebody told me when I was in high school that I could use magic to make whatever I want happen, fuck yeah, I'd be using magic. Maybe not to hurt other people, but...
Yeah. No, I'm not saying that guys are any better, but, like...
Girls can be cutthroat.
Yeah, and it was just... I just thought it was funny that he was just, like, shocked that somebody would go to such lengths to be on the cheerleading team.
Yeah, well... Yeah.
I mean, popularity, status...
Yeah.
You know...
If it's not in a book, he doesn't understand it.
And that's when they decided to make that little thing, that potion, to put on her skin to see if it...
have Eye of Newt, Quicksilver, and Aquavitae or something like that.
I don't remember.
Yeah, it's, what is it?
But everything they could basically get from
mercury
the chemistry
and nitric
lab.
acid or something like that. Yeah. So, okay. Made a little note here. So it cuts to them in biology, and they're doing dissections of a frog. A frog is not a newt. Not even close. I guess they're the same family, but They're completely different animals.
Maybe
Newts
it's
are
good
small
enough
little
for witchcraft.
salamander-like things. Frogs are like toads. They're not the same animal at all. Granted, I know why they chose a toad or a frog. It's because you actually dissect those in high school high school bio. Newts are way too damn small. But still, that is not a newt. They could have written it Eye of Toad or Eye of whatever, and it would have been fine, but they didn't, and I don't like it.
It's okay.
Moving on.
Buffy's not subtle when she drops her pen to get the hair out of her brush.
Mm-hmm.
Not at all.
No. Yeah. It's funny because Sarah Michelle Gellar is a good actress, but Buffy is not a good actress.
Yeah.
Like, it's just so obviously broadcasted. Hey, oops, I'm doing this thing so I can rummage through your bag.
She could have asked to borrow a brush. I mean, she might have been amenable to that.
She's a slayer, not a thinker.
Well, that's not true.
That's reductive, yes. But she is not... espionage is not her forte. Yeah, and that's when they put the deal on her.
And it changed color, so it was positive.
Yeah, that's right.
And then after that happened, like the one girl...
Was it her
mouth?
It was her mouth was like... Yeah.
Yeah. So Buffy she gets on the cheerleading squad because the one girl is like... her face or whatever.
Clearly not able to perform.
Yeah.
Because, she's missing part of her face.
And I always like it because when you watch... So Buffy's like crazy and Joyce is like, you're in a good mood because she's all like...
Oh, yeah. She's
bouncing
super
around,
hyped up and like real like teeny bop.
Macho
like,
man. That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Ooh, juice.
Yeah, she goes to town on that orange juice.
So... And you mentioned something about her saying being a vampire slayer or something like that, and you're like, Joyce is just like, okay with this?
Yeah, so I can't remember exactly what she says to Buffy, but she says something like, man, you must be really into cheerleading or whatever. She goes, I think she says like, yeah, well, the stresses of being a vampire slayer are just whatever, blah, blah, blah. And Joyce does not
says,
blink.
What?
Like, she just...
And then Buffy's just like...
no reaction.
Yeah.
Oh my God, wake up.
I mean,
Not that anybody reasonable would immediately believe that, but I feel like it warrants more of a reaction than, what?
Yeah. But also, I really like...
It involves the concept of murder, but okay.
When Buffy's on the team and I guess they're practicing?
Yes. Yeah, it's their first not tryouts, but practice before they have a game 4 hours later.
And she's all like super pumped and stuff. But if you look closely, her shoes don't match anybody else's shoes.
Hers are the only ones that are mostly black. Everybody
hers
else's
are black,
are
and
like
everyone else's
Adidas,
are
like white
yeah.
with black stripes.
And
I mean, it's so you can tell whose they are when they're zoomed in on their feet. At least that's what I thought.
Yeah, but also I feel like it kind of shows that, Buffy kind of just like...
Kind of marches to the beat of her own drum.
Person, marches to the beat of her own drum.
That could
She's
very
definitely
well
doing it that day for sure, but, just in general, she's not one that just, like, follows what...
She doesn't just do what she's told because that's what she's told.
High school, popularity and stuff like that. She doesn't necessarily follow all of that. Otherwise, I think she'd still be friends with Cordelia and not Willow and Xander.
Yeah, so I
she's
feel
her
like...
own person. And I feel like I've always seen it as her shoes being different as pointing out that she is different.
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
That
that is a good in-universe reason for them to be different.
Yeah.
I feel like what you were just saying, like, she doesn't just do what's expected of her or what the norms are. She doesn't just, like, slavishly try to fit in.
Yeah.
I feel like there is some of that in her, like wanting to fit in and be normal and all that.
Yeah, she wants a normal life.
But she also knows that, like, subconsciously, she knows that she's not going to just be normal because she wants to be. So, like, when she gets dropped down, like I said earlier, gets dropped down and bumped down to back being an alternate again, she's really not that torn up about it. And I don't think it has anything to do with, having to fight a witch and all that kind of stuff and what happened to her. I think it's mostly because she realizes, I think I just wanted this because I'm trying to be normal, and that seemed like a good way to try to be normal. maybe it's really not what I actually wanted.
Yeah.
You know, like...
Because, you know, her mom talks about how she was cheerleading before, but she's probably a different person than she was before.
You would think so.
Before she became a vampire slayer.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so now...
I would hope so.
Even though she wanted to try out because she wanted something normal, and that's something that she knew and that she liked before.
It was a tether from her old life.
Yeah, things are different now because she's a different person than before, you know?
She's maybe grown past it, and
yeah.
it just doesn't really do it for her anymore. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense, yeah.
Oh, I have my note here about, because, you know, Buffy's, like, all crazy and stuff, and they're trying to, like, get her out of there, and she's, like, you know, hanging on to Xander, and she goes, you know why I love you? And that's when she says, you're exactly like one of the girls. So I have that note there, and I was like...
Oh, yeah, same here.
I was like, earlier in the episode, Xander told Willow she was, like, a guy, and then now Buffy's telling him that he's one of the girls, and then I wrote, ha! Like, ha!
Yeah, so they go over to Amy's house, and they run into her mom, who they figure out in quick succession that it is not.
Because she saw the plate of brownies.
Yeah.
And when Amy was talking to Giles, she was like, when my dad,
yeah.
her dad left or whatever. So, yeah. Oh, I love Angry Giles.
Oh, yeah, so that was my note. I can't remember what she says or does, but he, like, grabs her and, like, does the, like, grabs her and shakes her kind of thing. And my note is, Giles is a badass who knows how to handle a crazy woman.
Oh, man.
Because he just goes into this mode where he's like, snap out of it, woman, or something like that. Like, it's just fucking ridiculous.
But just wait, like, I freaking love Giles, man. Like, I love when he gets, like...
Such a weird moment.
Like, serious and, like...
Yeah.
Not all, like, stuffy British guy, but, like...
This is actually important.
Yeah. Like, I love Giles.
Well, he has that weird mix of... He knows he's, like... very, like, what is the word, nebbish, and, like, into very academic, like, you know, whatever things. But, like you said, when it actually gets serious, all of that goes away.
Yeah.
And it's a weird dynamic because you don't expect it. It, like, in this moment, it seemingly came out of fucking nowhere. And it was just a very funny, like, oh, all right, okay, this is happening. Cool.
Also, I did make a note, like, Buffy legit looks sick.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
well, isn't it when she starts, like, feeling like, ooh, and passes out
but, like, makeup did a really good job
of
making her, like, look like she gonna die.
She gonna die.
She gonna die.
So, okay. Oh, man, we have so much more to get into.
I know.
Okay. We haven't even gotten into the two things that, like, we really wanted to talk about in this episode.
But here's the thing, like, our last episode probably wasn't as long because...
It was follow-up on the first.
Follow-up on the first. Like, this episode is, like, the first episode where there's...
It's just...
a lot, like, it's a full story all at once.
Yeah, that's true. So, okay. While they're at home and they're talking to Amy as her mom... What's her mom's name again? Heather or something? I can never remember.
Helen.
Helen.
Helen, because did they call her Helen the Great?
I don't remember. I know it's an H name, but I don't remember... what it actually is.
Hold on, I will find out. I think it's an H.
Yeah.
It's not even an H.
Oh, awesome.
Catherine.
Cool. Catherine. That's my mom's name.
Catherine the Great. Catherine the Great.
Oh my god, I'm an idiot.
But it's Catherine with a C, not a K.
Oh, okay. Well, that's fine. So, they're talking to Amy as Catherine, and... Really?
They're talking to Catherine as Amy. Oh, no, you're right. Sorry.
Anywho, so they're talking to her, whatever order. And she's talking about her mom and, like, how we got here and all of that, and just kind of explaining all of the background and everything. And about, like, how she was a cheerleader when she was younger, which we've already known, you know, the scene, the pictures and the trophies and everything. And, so obviously they swapped bodies because she wanted to take her daughter's body and
relive her glory days.
Yeah,
I feel.
Yeah, re-achieve everything that she had and all of that, and because she thought her daughter was worthless because she was squandering her gifts or whatever.
Wasting her youth.
Yeah, but she says something really weird and it hit me kind of strange because I didn't really quite understand what she meant by it, but we talked about it for a second, and then it made a little bit more sense. But what she said was, my mom always said how hard her life was, and I guess she showed me, since they've switched bodies, but that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, because how does switching bodies exemplify how hard her mom had it when she was younger or before she came around or whatever? It obviously, Amy is being put upon by her mom and switching bodies and all of that and being trapped at home,
and being made to do her homework, and I mean she probably has to clean and cook and all of that stuff as well.
Realistically. Which is weird. And she said, I have a history report. Do it for me. She's like, well, you have a history.
It's fine.
Regardless. I don't know. It seemed kind of like an odd thing for her to say, but my first thought against that, trying to rationalize it or understand it, was that may come from her being probably her mother's victim for probably most of her life to that point. I mean, it sounds like she's extremely overbearing and laser focused and obsessive to the point of being neurotic about it. But it still doesn't really make a lot of sense. Why would she think her mom really had it that hard?
And then I was saying, Amy only ever hears what her mom tells her. So if her mom is telling her that she's had a hard life, Amy's going to think that her mom had a hard life. And even if that hard life that Catherine had was that she couldn't get exactly what she wanted. Like, in the beginning of the episode when Buffy is talking to Amy about everything, and she says that, they're looking at the picture and the trophy when her mom, was a cheerleader and glory days and stuff, and she was like, yeah, she married my dad right out of high school sweethearts. He turned out to be a loser. He didn't make any money, blah, blah, blah. He ran off with Miss Trailer Trash. All of that, maybe Amy's mom wanted to have money and have things.
She was more ambitious.
So maybe that was hard. Or maybe it was really hard for her. Honestly, we don't know.
She wasn't really allowed to talk to her dad, and her mom would, hang up on her calls and everything. So she's probably only been fed one side of the story.
Yeah, what her mom says. But that's not to say that her mom didn't have a hard life before, and then that's what made her turn to witchcraft. I'm having these thoughts now. But, I mean, it could have been really hard for them financially, and then he did end up, he left her with Miss Trailer Trash, so we don't know if
that's just her perspective.
That's just her perspective, or if he did leave her for someone. We don't know, or why he left in the first place. We don't really know that. We just get her perspective on it, so we only know what she says.
Well, and to that end, or to that point, she may not have always been the person that we see her as now.
Yeah.
She may have resorted to witchcraft not because she was desperate to be an amazing cheerleader, but she may have resorted to witchcraft because things were hard, and we never get that backstory or the specific reasonings why, because maybe she's ashamed of them, or maybe she's self-conscious about them, or what? Maybe she was poor growing up, and that's why she's super ambitious.
And
who really
it probably
knows?
It
doesn't really matter
for the story.
But it's interesting to think about, though, and I'm sure she's probably not really a throwaway character, but I'm sure she's probably not going to be anybody who's grandly important to the whole show. But I don't know. I like those kind of details and backstory and world building, and I feel like they kind of missed out on an opportunity to flesh out her character a little bit more.
Yes.
They're already hour-long episodes, and I know that they were already pushing up against time, and some things just don't have to make it. And again, my head.
All right, Amy's mom's life is hard.
Oh yeah.
When they go upstairs to her lair and cauldron and everything, and Giles is like looking for the book, and he opens that thing,
yeah.
and that black cat jumps out. That scared me for real. Like I was like, like a little jump scare.
Watching the episode, I'm sitting here on my phone taking notes, and all I hear in the background is, "Meow!" And then, oh my god, that scared me. Like, wait, what? We have 4 cats. Cat noises barely even register to me anymore unless they're like, oh my god, they're being attacked or attacking each other.
If you're watching it, he opened it and the cat like jumps out at him. It was like it was a jump scare. It was a legit jump scare, and it scared me.
Did not register.
It does it every time. I don't know why I don't remember that it's there.
I just thought it was funny because like I'm just sitting just
yeah. So then they go to the school.
Yeah.
And then I wrote a note like, yeah, jock jams.
Oh yeah.
Brought me back to my middle school, high school days.
So I have a note for the same scene. That we see them, all the cheerleaders perform and everything, because that's at the basketball game.
Yeah,
proper.
And you were like, of course she's a flyer.
So yeah, well they never toss her, but they probably because insurance is expensive. But she's like the top of the pyramid or whatever, and she goes up, and then they're doing these spells while they're at her house, and like she's like, ooh, and like gets all out of it, and then falls, and her freaking crew doesn't catch her. It's not hard. I can't remember what the exact term for that is. I think it's called like a basket toss or whatever. But all they have to do is this and catch her, and they just drop her on the damn ground.
Yeah.
And that shit hurts. Basketball floors are not forgiving.
I watched cheer. I know. That shit is hard.
Yeah. Her crew sucks.
I thought it was funny that they spell to reverse everything.
Oh, yeah.
And they have Amy, who's in her mom's body, with them. Giles did not think things through.
None of them did. They all talked through it, and none of them said,
why would you do a reversal spell and have the body of the actual witch
just chilling,
just hanging out with you? Because as soon as you reverse that, what's going to happen? The witch is going to be in the room with you. She's going to kick your ass. Pissed off. She's going to be mad.
Then she goes back into her normal body and starts like tearing into Amy and everything. And that was our other thing.
That was our other conversation that we had.
So, I can't remember specifically.
She said something like, I gave you life, like, basically like...
I brought you into this world or something like that, and you've been nothing but a terrible child or whatever.
Ungrateful, stuff like that.
That's some straight up bullshit. Like, the whole...
people say that.
Well, yeah. And I don't really feel like most people who say it understand the full implications of how crappy it can sound.
They're using it mostly as like a guilt trip to like get their kid motivated, I think.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing with your life? That kind of thing. I think that's why most parents would say something like that.
Sure, which is good intentions and all of that, but it's the specific...
It's awful.
Feeling behind that, like saying that is terrible. Yeah. Like, I brought you into this world, and what you're doing is a disappointment to me, so you should feel bad. Like, nobody ever, and I know this is getting esoteric and all that, nobody chooses to be born. People choose to have kids. You can't blame a person for being who they are, especially as a parent talking to your kid. It's a kid. You can't blame them for not knowing or for not having the exact same value structure or drive as you. And again, I don't think most parents who have said this mean really the full extent of the negative part or the negative connotation to it.
Like what the words actually mean.
Yeah. But if you really break it down, it's terrible. Yeah. Like that's just... It's not cool. And the whole concept of, like, you should respect me because I'm your parent, while I understand the sentiment behind it, respect is something that should be earned. And it's not something that should just be the default for whatever reason. And I think that... I don't know. It really bothered me because she's a terrible parent.
Yeah.
She clearly does not care about her kid. She is something to be used for her own personal gain.
My point was she is probably a very selfish and narcissistic person.
Absolutely.
Because that's how people like that think. Like nothing is their fault.
Yeah.
Like they always find a way to put their unhappiness there.
It's like the narcissist prayer. Or I didn't mean that, or if I did that, I didn't mean it. If I did mean it, it wasn't that bad. Or if it was that bad, it was probably your fault. Whatever. Like
that
there's
kind of
always
stuff.
Something else. Everything in the world exists to support that person.
Yeah, and it seems like, her mom was maybe kind of that way. And so it kind of goes with her mom's character that she would say something like that. But yeah, as far as like respect and stuff like that goes, like I feel like I do extend respect initially to everyone.
That's right.
Not just my elders, but everyone in general, because that's what you do as a nice person. And I will respect you until you give me a reason not to.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't just blindly respect.
If you want to be respected, you should be respectful to other people.
Yeah.
Like it's the golden rule.
Yes.
But when somebody proves that they are not a respectful person, they are not to be treated with reverence or respect or whatever, obviously to appropriate degrees.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you should always approach people and treat people with the respect that you want to be treated with. But for somebody to just by default determine that they deserve more respect than you deserve is doo-doo nonsense.
Doo-doo nonsense.
Words fail me when I get it's so dumb.
Yeah,
it's so selfish.
I know.
Anywho, diatribe.
Amy's mom, Catherine, casts a spell to send, I'm assuming Buffy into
because she
the dark place or whatever, and then Buffy kicks the mirror and bounces a spell back to her. So and then she disappears.
Yeah, there's it's actually the first instance of CG in the show, I think. Because they do all the magic effects and all that kind of stuff.
Well, but what about when the master was rising out of the red water and he didn't have any red on him? Is that CG or no?
It was probably reversed footage.
Okay.
They probably filmed it with him going down into it so that he starts off clean.
And I can look that up.
And then when they play it back and then it brings him up and he's completely clean. Mostly because that would... I think that probably because it would be too expensive to do that with CG back then.
Oh, okay. And I know they were on a big time budget.
Yeah, CG is not...
Yeah.
Especially back then, is not something you saw on TV very often at all. And if you did, it was obvious because it was bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, anywho, this wasn't necessarily bad. It was just, I think this is the first episode, or the first instance of actual CG where she casts her spell and it's like this pink miasma, just flowy stuff. And it hits the mirror and comes back and she gets all banished into, I think she says the dark realm or the dark place. Or whatever.
Dark place.
But yeah. Jesus. She gets caught and then immediately starts trying to banish people to hell. Fuck.
Yeah,
That's intense.
But is it hell?
Well, that's how, I guess not. I mean, that's what I took it. Well, actually, fuck, probably not, because at the end of the episode, we see her in, the trophy of her, blinking.
Well, maybe that's her
How did that even happen? Well,
I mean, if hell is relative.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe. I don't know.
I didn't think about that, but yeah.
But yeah.
I don't know.
But yeah, so she's stuck in the statue.
Which, but yeah, I don't know. That one was weird to me. Because whenever I see something like that, my first thought is they're setting this up. They're showing this up on purpose to set something up in the future. But the rest of the episode does not give me that feeling. I don't think she's going to come back as some crazy witch or something that's part of something bigger or whatever.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but I don't know. It just seemed kind of out of place. She could have been banished to wherever, and they have just left it at that. However, it does serve as a good, like, punctuation mark at the end of the episode. Like, this bad person was bad for all of these reasons, and they were a real shitbag.
Yeah.
And now they've gotten punished because of their own actions, kind of thing. So,
Yeah.
I get it, but, I don't know, just kind of struck me as a little
Yeah.
weird.
And then I liked how the episode ended with, Buffy's mom coming in and just being like, I don't get you. I admit it. And she talks about, and I think I said something about this in, like, the first episode, maybe, about how, like, maybe it's hard for parents to look back and relate to their kids because they can't really remember how it was.
I think she says something to that point.
Yeah,
I'm not a teenager.
Yeah.
I don't get you.
And she says, I think there's some, like, she doesn't say paradox, but she says some, I don't know what she says. I don't know what words she used, but basically she says, I think there's something that
makes us forget.
Makes it so I can't understand you because I'm not 16 anymore. And I thought that was interesting. And then I like how Buffy asked her, if she wished that she were 16 again.
Oh yeah, and her answer is funny. Oh God, no, I can't even begin to deal with all of that mess or whatever.
So I'll end it on this. Do you wish you were 16 again? Or would you want to go back?
I don't know. My middle school and high school experience was not really bad. Like, it was just pretty nondescript. Like, I didn't really struggle to have friends. Like, I was friends with pretty much anybody I wanted to be. It's not, I don't know, that's not really, I don't think this would be most people's answer. I don't necessarily really want to go back. But at the same time, I don't really feel like it would be as horrible as a lot of people make it sound like it would be.
Yeah.
For me specifically. I can't speak for everybody, but I don't know. My high school experience really wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
It was fine.
That's good.
Yeah.
I mean, same for me. I didn't have a bad high school experience at all. I was really shy, so I think that if I did go back to being 16, I would try and be more outgoing.
I agree with that 100%.
But other than that, I mean, I don't really have any major complaints. Like, it wasn't an awful time for me.
Yeah.
But what about y'all? Comment below. Would you want to go back to your 16-year-old self?
16 was, I was in Boy Scouts. It was a good time. Like, I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, comment below. And anything you want to leave on?
I really like this one. I hope there's a lot more like it. Like, I think I mentioned this in the last episode or two. Monster of the Week style episodes were my favorite episodes in X-Files, and that's what really made me love that show. I really hope there are more like this. I know there's a overarching driving story, but I hope there are more like little bits like this, because they're fun, like they just kind of add to the whole world. And I really enjoyed it. It got me excited to keep watching even more than I already was. Like, I'm into it. It's good.
Yes. Makes me happy. So yeah, until next time.
Be safe. Wear a
Be
mask.
safe.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's COVID, so.
Yeah, we're in the middle of a pandemic. It's a bunch of nonsense. Be
Yeah.
nice to each other. How about
Be
that?
nice to each other. Oh, and also, you should laugh in the face of danger, but also hide until it goes away. Be safe. Be safe, like Xander.
Anywho, bye.
Bye.